So
Oh
yeah,
my
he's a
God.
shitty. Like, yeah, Vince McMahon is a shitty individual.
And
Literally,
you were like, he's just a regular dude.
he's just a regular dude.
And I didn't know,
He's just
like,
a regular dude.
I thought, okay, you can't possibly be standing up for this dude, but I didn't even know what he did. You know what I
That's-
mean? So I'm like, wait, are you messing with me? And then
he's
you
just
kept
a
making
regular
these like
dude.
you kept making
Lots of
these
Metamucil.
yeah, you kept making these poop references, and I'm like, why? What is going on?
Yeah, I was telling Martin when I see all these things flying back and forth, I'm like, you know what? I don't have anything turned on. I mean, I can't go searching for this right now.
No, you don't want.
This
Not
is
why
like-
Later
would
on,
you
the
don't
wife
want
finds
to?
the
yeah,
wife
because
goes
it
into
sounded-
the
sounded
search.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh my! It's like the worst thing.
You got to do it in incognito mode.
And he's
I-
yes.
You swear to your wife that it was research.
Yeah, for the podcast.
Yeah, no, seriously, it was research.
Blame Brendan.
Yeah, that's Vince McMahon making an example of himself. Yay, Vince.
Oh my God. And his wife, so is he still married?
No, she filed for divorce when she learned about the affair, and that's when he started like basically like he promised the woman like $3 million to keep her mouth shut, and like he's only given her $1 million. He hasn't even like kept up his end of the bargain. So she's like, and he had her sign a non-disclosure for agreement for $3 million, and then he didn't even hold up his end of the bargain. So she's like fighting the NDA. But it doesn't even matter now because like the texts like came out, and the texts are just like
They tell the story.
they completely tell the story. It's so wrong.
Isn't this like what Denny Hastert did? Like not live up to his end of the deal or something? Like I
think
I
that's
mean
what
he was getting extorted, okay, but like when you molest somebody, you kind of open yourself up to that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to feel bad for you that the person you molested is extorting money from you?
Yeah, I didn't feel bad for Dennis Hastert at all. The dude
Yeah.
the dude got what he deserved, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it you know, like I don't know, like I'm not the kind of person that engages in activities like that, but it would just seem to me that if you are the type of person to engage in activities like that, why would you then become a public figure?
Yeah.
That's like that people you've hurt might want to get revenge on, or where at the very least the press can like take a look at your background and be like, oh, hey, scumbag, look what you've been doing. You know, I just don't get it.
I mean, if I did half of this stuff, I would live in fear all the time.
Oh my God.
That like somehow people I care about would find out.
Yeah.
And I would definitely keep a low profile.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would also be just miserable all the time. I would be miserable, like, because I would always be worried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd never be able to relax. I don't know.
Maybe that's why so many Republicans are so uptight.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm going to
Imagine
come
having
over to
something
your
like that in
house.
history, you know,
I'm going to come over to your house and have coercive sex with you and film it.
Yeah.
Like, who does that? I don't. One or the other, man. One or the other.
I don't know. The hubris of power, I guess. I don't know. Thinking somehow
Yeah,
you're going to get away with it. Kind of, well, we got a perfect example. We have to suffer through 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's still been nice to see that guy get taken down to the studs, as Marty put it. 83 million. What? No, actually, no. What is like 85 million? That's not chump change.
Yeah, it was 83.3, and then he's already got a $5 million judgment.
That's what I'm saying.
So before we wear ourselves out,
I'm going to keep a lot of this, by the way. This is good stuff.
So what I'm saying here is,
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 9th episode of the Progress Pondcast. It's been a minute since we've been at you. We actually recorded this before and then had some technical difficulties, so this is our second stab at the 9th episode. We are joined tonight by our good friend of the Progress Pond blog, Mike in Ohio. And we're going out on a limb tonight. This is our first time doing a guest, and we're going to see how everything goes. This is also going to be our first episode where we tried our best not to script things. So it's going to be a little more free form, and let's see how everything goes. Hello, Martin Longman.
How's it
Hello.
going, Brendan Squire?
I'm doing good. Hello, Mike in Ohio, Michael Norman.
Hello, Brendan and Martin. Thank
It's
you
good.
for the opportunity.
It's really good to see everybody here.
It's a pleasure,
Yeah.
Mike.
I appreciate it.
So we're almost in February. I don't know about you guys, but I have about God, I got about I don't have a vacation coming up until the very end of March. I get the last week of March off from school. And I'm gonna be getting out of town for a little bit, heading up to Vermont, seeing some old friends up there. What are you guys getting up to over the next couple weeks? All I got is work, work, work.
Well,
I
as
don't
far
have a
as
whole.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. Stepped on you.
I don't have a whole lot going on. I'm just coming through the holidays, which is always a lot of work. My son is a New Year's Day baby, and he just turned 14.
Woo!
Yeah, so I'm in big trouble. But got a full-fledged teenager on my hands.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but we had a little time off, and now he's back school, and he's doing the travel soccer thing, and so we're kind of getting back in the swing. But we kind of got out of the podcasting swing, so we got to get back on the horse, so to speak.
Mike, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been trying to
Actually, instead of what have you been up to,
Yeah.
introduce yourself to everybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I am Mike in Ohio on the blog. And I have been a member of Boomin Tribune and the Pond since January of 2007. And I have, oh gosh, I don't know, I've spent a lot of time surfing Martin's site and spending time on there. So I do live in Ohio, obviously, just north of Cincinnati, kind of out in a very red suburb in a rural area. So it's been an interesting living out here for the past 27 years. So
No, I'll bet.
yeah, there's a lot of interesting interactions when you're living in a place where everybody assumes that you're exactly like them and opinionated like them. So needless to say, when a Democratic yard sign shows up in across the road from a Confederate flag, it tends to create a little conversation. So
I'll bet it does.
yeah,
I've
I'll tell you, Mike. It's hard to believe it's been 17 years that I kind of known you.
Yeah.
Of course, only through your Mike in Ohio. But I kind of feel like I've gotten to know you over the years, and I've always valued your opinion, and I've especially valued it because of where you live, and you always have some kind of perspective on what it's like to live in Trump world. And it's something that is a bit of a reality check for me. And it's been very helpful for me to kind of ground myself, So I've always valued your comments, and I've always appreciated your presence on the blog, and it's a real pleasure to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah, the same here. I've only been to Ohio a couple times, and most of the time it was either driving. Most of the time it was driving through. Though I played a couple shows there when I was in various bands. I've played over in Cincinnati, Columbus, and my cousins actually grew up in Cleveland. I visited there once or twice. The I don't have that much memory of Ohio, but we played at. Is there a place in Cincinnati called the Newport Music Hall?
Yes.
I played the Newport Music Hall, which is a historic venue. Jimi Hendrix played there.
Yeah, that's actually across the river in Kentucky, but it's, Kentucky, Newport and Cincinnati kind of
Yeah,
blend into this homogenous kind of community. And,
they absolutely do.
it's a lot there's a lot of, everybody that crosses back and forth across the bridge is kind of considers it Cincinnati.
The gorge, there's a gorge there, right? In the Cincinnati River go through like a big gorge, like it's really deep, steep cliffs on either side. Or am I imagining that?
The Cincinnati area, I mean, the river's valley is pretty wide, but
Yeah.
there's up north, there's some gorges. Clifton Gorge
Yep.
is up in around Yellow Springs. area. So in this part of Ohio, yeah, there are some gorges. The Ohio Rivers, though, is pretty much just a wide expanse. There aren't really any hills, so to speak, or gorges on either side.
And then
We
you
have
have
we
the
have we have somewhat of the same thing here with Camden is on the other side of the river from Philly
yep.
and in New Jersey, and we have a lot of concerts in Camden. But I think the bands that come in, they kind of think they're playing Philly.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's like the Camden waterfront, which is like nothing but an entertainment district, and
yeah,
Camden being how Camden is. Though it's getting better over there, man. I hope this isn't too granular or state related for our listeners, but Camden has been on the upswing. Camden's been on the upswing, and I can tell you they've invested a lot in their school system. Their school system, I'm pretty sure, is doing better in many ways than Philadelphia's school system. So, but yeah,
that's not a tall order.
that's also, well, I won't disparage the district where I work, but
Okay, I will.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Bite the hand that feeds you, right?
yeah, the
Okay.
main thing I remember about Cincinnati is probably what everybody brings up, the Cincinnati chili, which to me is basically just pasta bolognese.
Yeah.
It's like a simple pasta bowl. And I used to work in Italian. I used to work in Italian restaurants, so I knew how to make. I learned how to make the fancy stuff with the veal and the pork and the spices. But the spices in the Cincinnati chili, like the cinnamon, and I think there's allspice or nutmeg in there.
Yep. Yep.
I've made bolognese sauces with those exact ingredients or
Yeah,
similar, and it's like
absolutely. Yeah.
the bolognese has milk
Yeah.
in it, milk or cream, and the Cincy chili does not.
No, it
Right?
doesn't. It's Cincinnati has quite a heritage. The Greek heritage and of course a German heritage. But it historically, I think the Greeks kind of brought over the foundation of the Cincinnati chili, and
Ah,
so that's kind of where it originated. There are still several small chili shops around Cincinnati that kind of Camp Washington Chili is one, and but
I'm making a
you know,
list.
so yeah,
Yeah.
there's multiple little chili parlors. I mean, Skyline and Gold Star are the two
Yeah,
most
those are the big
populars
ones.
here in Cincinnati. It's the ones you can buy at grocery stores around the
Yep.
country. But there are still a lot of kind of unique little mom and pop places, and yeah, it like you said, it if you're from a place that claims chili, the be the founders of chili, you're gonna scoff at Cincinnati chili, but really it's a huge favorite for people around here, and there's always an argument going on somewhere, which is better, Gold Star or Skyline, and honestly, myself personally, I can't necessarily tell much difference. They're so similar that it would be tough to do a real taste test probably
Yeah,
and get
it's
prove that.
Well, we
it's like
have
when
we have that here with the cheesesteaks.
yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
Yeah.
people get into arguments over which cheesesteak is better, and it's like for the most part, it's like man, they're all the same. 99% of them.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. I mean it's here. The ingredients
Yeah.
are all going to be essentially the same, and yeah, you put them side by side, and even if you give a diehard Skyline lover some Gold Star, they're probably at least two times out of five they're gonna say, oh, this is Skyline when it's really not. So
Yep. Yep.
But whenever all the politicians come through Philly, they got to go to the cheesesteak place and they got to
Yep.
pick it. And then, some people are going to be mad because they went to
oh
the
yeah,
wrong cheesesteak place. So,
it's the
That's where
same way here. Yeah.
Kerry screwed up. He came to Philly, and if you order a cheesesteak in Philadelphia, you got to know you're asking for it with either American, Cheese Whiz, or provolone, and you're
right.
asking it for either with or without onions, and maybe you'll add on mushrooms and peppers. But those are your options. And Kerry comes in, and what did he order? He ordered it with Swiss cheese,
Swiss and tomatoes.
Swiss and tomatoes, which is
Yeah.
like
You don't do that.
you don't do that.
They
You
don't have Swiss, first of all.
Yeah, they don't have that.
Yeah. They do have tomatoes, but yeah, you don't put that on your
You
cheesesteak.
don't
And,
put that, and ketchup maybe, but
oh, yeah, ketchup.
you know,
But,
Don't tomatoes just kind of identify you as an out of towner or something if you order with that or
yeah, it's
something,
like the whole windsurfing thing. It was
Yeah, yeah.
you wouldn't believe what a big deal it was. It was
oh my God.
actually damaging to his campaign. It
I
was
didn't
incredible.
understand why the windsurfing was damaging to his campaign. I didn't get that, but I grew up in Rhode Island though, where people everybody used to go freaking windsurfing.
Yeah, I don't know why
Well,
that.
it didn't play well here in Ohio, I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
the cheesesteak thing played very badly in Philadelphia. I
You know
remember
what
that.
they did that was genius with the windsurfing is they did the flip flop and they used the sail on the windsurf to flip and flop on the commercial. You
Oh,
know, I'm going this way, I'm going that way kind of
oh
thing.
my God.
Oh, it's brilliant
Oh,
political advertising. It just slaughtered Kerry. Oh my goodness. But I understand that's that same kind of basic thing goes on in Cincinnati.
yeah. I'm
Yeah, it
assuming
does
it's, yep.
actually. Yeah,
The what's going on in Cincinnati right now? The what not Cincinnati, Ohio right now, because I have trans friends and family members and all over the place, quite frankly. And I saw that Mike DeWine in a rare instance of decency
That's the governor.
vetoed the governor vetoed this anti-trans legislation. And I guess the your legislature, which is made up of orcs, like so many legislatures, the orcs decided that they were going to overturn it, and so that's what they did. They overrode his veto. So what's the state of affairs over there?
yeah. Right now, things are obviously the override was really kind of expected, and you kind of knew that going in. Right now, the groups are just kind of regrouping at this point and trying to reevaluate how you go from here. It's as we found out in Ohio, the Republicans really have zero respect for voter opinions, for actually constitutional amendments, overwhelming things voted overwhelmingly in, they just defy. And this is
Yep, I've
another
seen that.
case. This is another case where the vast majority of people in Ohio really, if you look at the polling, support the right of trans people to make their own decisions with their family and their doctors. But yet the Republicans don't seem to care. The scary thing now, and this is going to force people to really focus now, is the Republicans are actually working now on drafting legislation to limit the options for adult trans health care. It's just part of the whole slippery slope that we're going down with Republicans here. There's never, it's the win they get is never enough. They have to go
Yep.
deeper and harder. So that's going to be the next thing that they're going to be pushing for, is to just limit any trans person the ability to get any kind of physical care, mental health care, anything related to their need to transition. They're going to try and put as many roadblocks in front of it as they can, and probably from a legislative standpoint, prohibit that. So it's going to be another situation where you have to find creative ways to scale this hill that they've created, and it's going to be tough. I mean, we got a
Yeah.
lot of really good activists on the ground and really dedicated people. Coincidentally, I've got one that's just kind of a neighbor of mine here that I just met, which kind of surprised me. I heard him speak last week at an event I went to, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm your neighbor." So, uh, but anyway, we're really there's a lot of a lot of bad things coming out of the legislature when it comes to the trans or anything LGBTQ related. They're just on this mission, like we've seen around the country, to basically make these non-persons.
What is
And
what's so disgusting about this to me is that the right has basically, I think they've openly acknowledged that they're going after trans people because they lost the war on gay people. So they're the new target is trans people because they think they can score some wins over there,
yeah,
especially by dragging people's children into it
yeah,
You
and
know,
making
you,
it all about protecting the children, which is just such
well, they
cynical,
they
dirty garbage.
they couched this latest House bill, and there was two parts to it actually. One was related to trans people in sports, in high school and college sports.
Yep.
And that was the thing, that was their big banner they waved on this. And because I mean, most people can understand that argument, that to a lot of people, that makes a lot more sense that they were very reticent to talk about the access to health care, the access to mental health care, all of those things, where they're getting in between the doctors and the healthcare people and voters and citizens. So, they acted like their main focus was this whole sports thing,
Yeah.
which in reality, that was just kind of their shiny object that they dangled out there to distract and to kind of divert the full scope of what they're actually trying to do here. So that
And th-
other aspect just kind of flew right under the radar, and people didn't pay any attention.
And this
I,
isn't
I
new.
personally,
Sorry, Marty, let you jump in.
I was just going to say, personally, I'm a little bit comforted that when they pull this, people are more supportive of trans rights than I would have predicted. And I like hearing that because I think they thought of trans people as the most unsympathetic people they could come up with, and that used to be gay people. And then people became accepting of gay people. And as Brendan said, they kind of lost that battle, or they did lose that battle. And so
Can I just jump in
yeah,
with just a very quick interjection, then jump back to you? There's video, you can find it on YouTube of Pat Robertson, of all people. Pat Robertson, who is not a friend of the LGB community at all, but Pat Robertson actually standing up for trans people. And it's like if Pat Robertson is standing up for trans people, being like, yeah, this is a thing and it really exists. That just goes to show that it's like this is a thing that people have experienced, just personal experience with, because you wouldn't otherwise see him saying something like that. But anyway, continue, Marty. Sorry.
well, yeah, I mean, I think it's been ineffective, and you're seeing them have to override their own governor here in this case. And I mean, as horrible as what's happening in Ohio is and elsewhere, at least I feel like public opinion is not appalling in this case. And that is not how I feel about other things like the polls in the presidential race, for example,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, what is wrong with people?
Oh my God.
So I'm just trying to put a little positive perspective on it, that
Yeah.
things could be worse.
The fact
Yeah.
that the governor, and I know I'm by no means a Mike DeWine fan. He
Really?
he is but in the beginning of the pandemic, obviously he was one of the very controversial Republicans that came out and said, listen, this is a public health issue. It's not politics. We got to do what's right by the experts, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the masks. We're going to do the shutdowns. He listened to the experts. And in the case of this House bill, I mean, and I listened to him, explain how he came to his decision, and he said, I met with families, I met with trans people, and I met with the families of teenagers who are struggling with their gender identities. And he said, after hearing both sides, I was persuaded that we need to allow these people to do what they need to do. We need to allow them to consult with their healthcare professionals. We need to let the families make the decisions in conjunction with their faith and their doctors, and not stand in their way. And you know, but yet, he's not the only Republican that feels that way here.
Hey,
So,
Mike, can I tell me if my memory is correct on this? You had a senator there, Voinovich,
mhm,
correct? I forget
yeah,
his first name. What was his first
George.
name?
George.
George Voinovich. And if I'm correct, he had a family member who got married to another man, or a son. Was it a son? I'm not sure.
You might be thinking of Rob Portman.
That's what I'm
Oh,
thinking of, is Rob
thank
Portman.
you. No,
It's Rob
Yeah.
okay.
Portman.
Okay.
And he
So
turned on a
Yeah.
dime.
yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yeah,
Yep.
his son,
All right.
He,
his son came out of the closet, and yeah, he he actually, did the and we, that doing the Portman has kind of become a kind of a description of anybody that does an about face as soon as they have a
Yep.
personal stake in it.
Yeah, I
Yep,
mean,
like there's
I've
like the
written about
minute.
this. I've written about this a bunch of times where, people conservative thing where they suddenly see the value of something when it impacts them personally. Like Arlen Specter gets cancer, and all of a sudden he becomes this huge fan of the National Institute of Health.
Yeah.
And
And medical marijuana.
yeah, and it's like,
That was the thing.
where were you before, right? But okay, so my fault on the Voinovich thing. I remember Voinovich stuck his neck out about John Bolton should not be confirmed as UN secretary, and
Yeah.
I guess it stuck out to me that Voinovich had done something good, but I got it wrong. It was Portman,
Yeah.
and Portman came out in favor of gay marriage, and here you have DeWine coming out in favor of trans rights, and you have Kasich, your old governor, who is pretty strongly anti-Trump.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see this split in the Republican Party in Ohio.
Yeah. I remember years ago I sat in on there was no discussion at the time of any kind of gay rights issues, but on a mental health forum that was down here in Cincinnati, and he was part of a roundtable discussion that we had. That's Kasich, and it was amazing to hear him talk about mental health. Of course, it turns out later on that he has a brother that's struggled with lots of those kinds of issues. But yeah, here was a Republican saying some very, very what I would consider progressive things when it came to mental health care and mental health access.
And of course,
So,
it's personal. It's personal.
but then again, when you find out after the fact, and I didn't realize this till later that that he actually had a family member that struggled with that. So it's like, why does it always take this? I don't understand. Do they not like hand out the empathy card at at birth for Republicans? I don't know.
That's what it always seems like to me. They have they don't have they have a problem with empathy.
Yeah.
They have a
Yes.
problem with empathy.
It was
I have
weakness. It was a weakness.
Yeah.
Remember when Sotomayor was nominated to be on the Supreme Court, and that became an issue that she said that people should have empathy. During her hearings.
Yeah.
The conservatives lost their minds.
Yeah,
and that was like the
they went
worst.
crazy.
The worst thing you could have was a judge who had empathy, because then they would side with poor people. And
there was a columnist here in Philadelphia, Christine Flowers, who is a complete wretch of a human being. She'll probably sue us for saying that on the air. You can't call me that. And but because she's a vengeful lady. And but she wrote these scathing columns about Sotomayor and empathy, just like ripping into her, being like, and I remember reading them, be like, what on earth is wrong with this person?
Yeah, I'm a talking point for the whole party.
How do you be like, yeah, not having empathy is a good thing. You shouldn't care about your fellow human beings.
It's the worst thing a judge can have.
The worst thing someone can do is be able to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. You're the worst person in the world.
Some of the illogical dots they connect from empathy to other things too. It just blows my mind. If you've got empathy, for a person here, then it leads to this, and then this, and then eventually, if you're understanding enough, then people are marrying dogs or whatever. It's like,
it's always it always winds up with marrying dogs.
It always
marrying a turtle,
marrying animals of some kind or whatever. It's like,
But hey, let's pivot on to the some of the current events from the week. Marty, you're the poll watcher. You do the better analysis than me. I'm not sure how Mike is, but so we got Trump winning in Iowa, and then DeSantis dropped out like a coward. You had a little bit to say about that earlier this week.
Give
me your riff. Give me your riff on DeSantis, please.
It blows my mind that he dropped out because it's been clear for almost a year that there was no way that anybody but Trump was going to win in Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and he went all in Iowa. You know, I'm going to put all these resources in. I'm going to visit every county twice or 3 times. And it was clear it wasn't going to happen for a long time. So then it was, okay, well, I got to come in second.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's understandable. And he did come in second. You know, if he had a realistic goal over the last, say, 9 months, it was, I need to come in second in Iowa. And he did it. Now, it was a distant second. And he was facing a situation where he could clearly see that he was going to come in third in New Hampshire. And then they're going to go down. The next contest after that is South Carolina, where Nikki Haley is from. That's where she was governor. And so he wasn't going to have a very good shot there of coming in anything better than third. And so he dropped out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can understand that if you
Never
can't
back down.
Yeah, okay. So he had a political action committee called Never Back Down. He takes a punch in the nose and he quits.
Oh, yeah.
So what was his theory of how he's going to win? Because here was my theory. My theory was that Trump has all this stuff coming down the pike, okay? And we'll get into some of that in a second. But, you know, he has all these legal cases lined up in a row, and they're going to take some part of his hide.
Yeah.
And he has to be the guy that is still standing there saying, look, this guy, we can't run this guy. This guy's been indicted. He's been convicted. He's a rapist. He's paying out all these things. We can't have this guy be our nominee. I'm the most Trumpy guy that you can pick as an alternative, not Nikki Haley, right? Not Chris Christie, not the Vivek, the fake guy, right? Because let's get real with that guy.
Yeah, nobody's voting for that guy.
Yeah, so I'm just going to stick around, and yeah, he's going to have to stop traveling everywhere on expensive planes, and he's going to have to cut his staff. He just has to stick around. Like, that's the theory, right?
Yeah. And he did, by the way, he did spend. I've read quite a few articles, like postmortems of his campaign, and he did spend a lot of money on fancy this and fancy that, fancy the other thing. It's just it's been his campaign financially apparently has been like a complete shit show from the beginning, and like
he ramped up like at the beginning, which I could kind of understand. Like, I'm gonna raise a ton of money, which he did.
Yep.
And I'm gonna build a huge staff to run a big national campaign, which he did. And the problem was, like, as soon as Trump started getting arrested every 5 seconds, the party rallied around him. But this has been clear for so long. That's the thing. Okay. Yeah. I understand and can forgive that your original plan wasn't going to work. Okay. But your backup plan is, I mean, you could just drop out way before Iowa and say it's never going to happen for me. I mean, other candidates did that. Sure. They looked at the polls and they said, this ain't my year. You know, that's what Tim Scott did, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So he didn't do that, though. He stuck it out, and then he quits when he said, I'm Mr. Tough Guy, who'll never back down. So that leaves Nikki Haley, you know, as the only remaining standing competition for Trump. And so that was my riff on DeSantis. He's just a coward.
He's a total coward.
Yeah. And kind of an idiot.
His whole persona was like,
I'll fight for you.
He was like Martin. If you've watched The Simpsons, you know there's that one character, one of the children, Martin Prince, I think his name is. He's like the kind of uptight, like, you know, stuffed shirt kind of smarty pants kid that nobody really likes. And then there's another character, Nelson Muntz, who's the bully. Ha ha.
Yeah.
And it's like DeSantis. If you're a Simpsons fan, it's like that Martin character pretending to be Nelson Muntz,
Yeah, that's right.
but having nothing to back it up. I mean, he was like, I forget where it was, probably Balloon Juice or one of the other blogs I read. Someone was like describing DeSantis as the kid who like sucks up to the school bully, but when the school bully's back is turned, like is talking shit about the school bully. And then the bully comes around, they're like, oh, bully, you're back. And I mean, he is just like, there's nothing likable about that guy either. I mean, I want to keep riffing on DeSantis for a little bit.
Well, let me just say one thing before you riff, because the one thing we didn't mention is then he endorsed Trump.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was getting to. He endorsed Trump.
Yeah, he didn't just back out.
Yeah, but you notice what he's done since endorsing Trump, just like the schoolyard bully suck up. He's going on the TV shows and on the radio and trash talking Trump at the same time. So he's endorsed the dude, but he's appeared on at least one program, maybe two, talking smack about the guy. Oh, this and that, trials, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's a little late.
And bemoaning
late.
the whole thing. So it's like, dude, it can't be both. You can't be endorsing him and be, trash talking him at the same time. But that's apparently what he's doing. It's just hilarious and stupid.
So, Mike, did you see the whole thing after the New Hampshire where Haley came out and she did her little speech and said, I did pretty well here, and then Trump got all irritated and started insulting her dress. Did you see that, Mike?
Yeah, I did. It was a classic Trump move, though, wasn't it? I mean, he's going to address everything except a substantive issue. He's going to address what she wears or how she talks or the shade of her skin or whatever. And it was exactly what you would expect somebody like Trump to do. And it boggles my mind. I'm trying to imagine being a Republican woman.
Yes.
I mean, that's probably the thing I struggle with most. Of course, I'm a guy, so I can't understand how women feel anyway. But even still, to try and imagine a Republican woman, especially a younger Republican woman, watching this and saying, yeah, he's my guy.
He's our guy. Yeah.
It just, we've got a lot of, we've got a lot of younger Republicans in this area, and it's just hard for me. I don't have opportunities to talk to them much about these kinds of things, but
well,
imagine what kind of conversations they have among themselves. I mean,
that share of young Republican women is shrinking. We talked about this on a previous show. There's a marriage crisis going on, at least on the right, where there's the guys can't find any girls because the girls are all dating. The women are all dating, becoming Democrats and voting and dating Democrats. Marty, remember that thing in the Washington Post we were making fun of a few months ago, where the Washington Post literally published an editorial. I think it was an unsigned editorial too, so it represented the view of the paper about how basically someone has to compromise, and it was totally directed at liberal women.
Please date these Republican men. Please date these Republican men because they're crazy.
And there's no demand that the Republican men change their behavior, their attitudes.
No, and you got to think about it. I mean, I experienced this. My wife is, she is a professional woman, and you hear her and her female colleagues talk all the time about all the ways that women face indignities in the workplace and disrespect and get less pay and get talked over in meetings. And
that's why teachers and social workers make less than average for in those fields. Why those fields in particular pay less than comparable fields? It's because a lot of that has historically been women's work, so it's always paid less. That's like built into things.
But I don't think Trump is doing himself any favors in at least the general election, going around and just trashing her. And the way he's so dismissive and disrespectful. And so, I guess anything he does that is unhelpful, I'm kind of for, but it's also just kind of dispiriting to see how he acts.
He's never really suffered any fallout, historically, from any of things like these that he's said. So, but obviously that's come to that chicken's come home to roost at this point now. So we're probably going to touch on that in a little bit. But
88 million chickens to be precise.
That's a lot of eggs, man. A lot of eggs, even
Well,
even at a high price.
Well, the big thing that happened this week, of course, is that he got slapped with an $83 million verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case.
And that's on top of the previous 5 million.
Yeah, so that's 5 million in the first defamation case. Then he wouldn't stop defaming her, so now they've really jacked it up to almost $90 million just to her. It's like $90 million. But here's the thing: that trial was supposed to be decided before New Hampshire voted, but Trump was successful in getting a couple of delays.
Yeah.
And so everyone in New Hampshire went to vote. And in doing so, he wound up winning Ohio and New Hampshire. And as soon as that happened, what did I say?
Ohio.
I'm sorry, because Mike. Of course, because Mike. No.
Don't jinx us, man. I mean, we ours is March 19th, so
this is your fault, Mike.
Yeah, ours is March 19th, so yeah, don't get ahead of the skis here.
Iowa and New Hampshire, which of course, as soon as that happened, Trump went to the RNC and said, I want you to declare that I'm the presumptive nominee of the party.
Yep. Which went over well.
Like a lead balloon. So like by the afternoon, he was like, I don't want it. It's very nice of you to want to declare me the presumptive nominee, but I want to win the fairway.
Yes.
So he backed down on that. But the thing is, it's more true than not, right? He is the presumptive nominee.
Yeah,
at this
of course.
point. And it's because he was able to win New Hampshire. And maybe the people in New Hampshire would have liked to see that $83 million judgment before they voted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That might have been some useful information, in my opinion. So if I were a conspiracy theorist, I'd say, the Democrats are just orchestrating this whole thing. They could have charged him much earlier in all these cases, but they didn't. They waited, and now all these delays, all they're doing is they're waiting until he's wrapped up the nomination. They can't do anything about it, and then they're going to start coming down. Boom, boom, boom. He's gonna have his business taken away from him maybe Monday or Tuesday. And that fraud case in New York.
Is that coming up this Monday? That soon?
Well, the judge said that he was going to issue his ruling by the end of the month. Yeah. So that's what.
Yeah, that's Monday.
Is what, Tuesday or something?
Yep.
So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, that's going to come down. And Letitia James is asking for $350 million.
$350 million.
And then that also comes with, you're not allowed to do business in New York, take away all your business certificates. Your sons are going to be like banned for 5 years or something like that doing business. So the Trump organization in New York is finished. We're just going to see how bad it is, but that's going to come down, and that's going to be a big thing. And then he's going to get hit in the Stormy Daniels case, perhaps.
Yep.
And then of course, who knows when one of these Jack Smith things is going to come down.
Yeah, what's going on with that right now? I was reading something about how what's her face there, Cannon has been remarkably successful in getting some sabotaging that. But I know nothing about that. Or is that a different? Or am I getting? There's so many cases. It's like it gets confusing at this point.
Well, there's similarities in the delays, but the case you're referring to with Cannon is the Mar-a-Lago documents.
Oh, yes,
case.
that's Mar-a-Lago. That's right.
And I didn't even mention that because that probably is going to be pushed way back. And they're all running up against each other too. So, but in any case, that case is significant. That one could send him to jail. The Jack Smith case, that's one of the Jack Smith cases. The other Jack Smith case is, of course, related to the attempt to stay in power after he lost the election. That one is getting pushed back a little bit so far, maybe a month. It was maybe going to start in March. Looks like that's not going to happen. But all that, what I'm saying, when I'm kind of joking about the Democrats orchestrating this, but what I mean is that he's going to continue to win. He's going to win in South Carolina, and then he's going to win in Nevada, and he's going to win, and he's going to keep piling up these delegates. And maybe Haley will drop out, who knows? And he's just going to be the nominee. And you can already see in
Oh, you can
DC,
already see it coming.
you can already see in DC that they're treating him like that, right? Because they were trying to do this combination immigration foreign aid bill where they would crack down on the border and then that tie that to aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And the Senate was making a lot of progress on that. And then Trump won New Hampshire and he went and said, I don't want that.
Yep.
I want that to be a live issue. I want the border to be a mess. And of course, he's in the pocket of Putin. He doesn't want aid for Ukraine. He doesn't want Biden to get a win on anything. So now they're being more responsive to him. And it looks like the Senate might try to push that through, but
it looks like they are. I'm at the Washington Post homepage right now. Biden willing to shut southern border to help secure funding for Ukraine.
yeah,
And, Biden. I mean, look, I don't agree with any of that nonsense, over the border. For me, it's always been a cynical issue with the Republicans. It's nothing they've ever been serious about, and it's completely apparent that they're not serious about it now. Johnson actually said that it's not going to happen. It's a crisis, right? But it's nothing we're going to work on until we have a new president. And it's like they've already made their intentions clear that that it's nothing but political gamesmanship for them. I don't remember where the heck I was going with that, but no, that's where I was going. Is that as much as I disagree with this whole issue, the way it gets played out, Biden is still making the right moves on this by being like, yeah, we can negotiate, what are we working with here? I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that. Because any of that stuff can be changed later. Any of that stuff can be changed later. But it's like you're seeing the absolute vacuum that is the Republican Party, in that they just want this as an issue. They don't actually want to solve a problem.
No, they don't. And
Yeah.
And the issue is he's now the nominee of their party because DeSantis dropped out, because Nikki Haley really doesn't appeal to the base of the party in the way that those two can.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, though, he has to get all the way to the convention, and then he has to be, confirmed at the convention. And by that time, it's possible that he will have been convicted of a crime that sends him to prison.
Yeah.
And even if that hasn't happened, it's going to be looming right on the horizon. And there'll also be, these other cases that have done damage to him. And so they're stuck with him now, but they really will have a last chance. He won't actually be the nominee until they all decide he's the nominee. And it's just not a good place for the Republican Party to be. And yet at the same time, he's beaten Biden in the polls.
Yeah. At this point, he is. At this point,
he is.
Yep.
And so it's hard to make an argument. Well, let's get rid of the guy who's winning in the polls.
Guys, we got to wrap this up pretty soon. I got some other stuff I got to jump into. We've been doing this for like almost an hour and a half. What do you want to transition to get ourselves out of this whole thing?
Yeah, I was reading a little bit too today about about things looking, things looking a little bit better in Arizona. We're really, the Senate right now is so up in the air, and it actually seems like maybe some potentially positive news out of there, right? With the whole confusion of whether or not Carrie Lake is going to run, the resignation of the chair out there. It seems like Kirsten Sinema is maybe going to become a non-factor at this point. Yep. So
the angle that I had here is, you saw the Boebert thing.
I didn't. Is that new? Did she?
Okay,
when did she get popped for drunk driving?
Oh, no. She didn't get popped for drunk driving. No, she had her husband got arrested for punching, or she punched her husband in the
Yeah,
face
yeah,
and
we
called the
had,
cops.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I missed that somehow.
Yeah, but no, so she's from the, what do they call it out in Colorado? The Western Range or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah.
Western
The
Western Slope,
the front range. Is she
whatever
out
it
from
is.
Front Range, whatever it is?
She's on the western side of the Rockies. That's her district. And now she doesn't want to run in that district because she won by a couple hundred votes last time, and that was before
Yeah, yeah,
the
she ran
the
away
she was giving out rub jobs at the what was the play?
at Beetlejuice. She
That
was giving,
Beetlejuice,
Beetlejuice.
she was giving out the
Yeah.
handies.
Yeah. So that didn't go over well. So now she moved to this district on the eastern side of the Rockies. And there was a guy who's the Speaker of the State House who had already declared that he was running for that seat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's, kind of a heavyweight. He's Speaker of the House. And he just resigned as Speaker of the House this week because he had a drunk driving.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So then they did like
I
see
missed
this
this one.
Yeah,
I was more focused on the guy in
didn't
Arizona who
see
got
that at
recorded.
all.
So
Yeah.
telling me about keep telling me about the Colorado guy. I hadn't heard about this. This is news
well
to
so
me.
I mean that it's a drunk driving. It's not like he molested a kid. You know what I mean?
Didn't pull a Denny Hastert, right?
Yeah. So
So he resigns.
he resigns as Speaker of the House. Okay, I don't think he resigned from the legislature, just from his leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there's a bunch of candidates here, and they had some kind of forum, and they asked, "Hey, everyone who's been arrested, raise your hands." And
Oh, I heard about this.
yeah.
They
So
all raised their hands, like a
like a
bunch
whole
of them, like
bunch of them raise
six.
their
Yeah,
hands.
like six of
I
them.
don't know how many raise their hands,
There's a
honestly.
whole bunch of them though.
Yeah, but then it was like a badge of honor,
Yeah, I
right?
know. People were
I've been
clapping.
arrested. Yeah. The audience was clapping like, "Hey, you've been arrested," just like our Donald Trump guy. He gets arrested 4 times this year. So you
Oh my
sound pretty qualified to me. Yeah. So that's all going on
That's
there.
amazing.
Yeah,
That is
that's a
just. And
crazy story.
they talk about politicians being corrupt, but like
Yeah. We're all going to applaud getting
we're
arrested.
all actual crooks.
Wait, any of you not been arrested? Because you can just leave now. So, and then out in
Go to the Democrats. You can run as a Democrat. You haven't been
Yeah.
arrested, right?
Yeah. You go to Arizona, then this guy who was the chairman of the party out there, he got busted because he offered, I don't know, some amount of money to Carrie Lake not to run for Senate.
Yep, and then she blackmailed him with that.
Yeah,
she recorded
She
it
records
the
everything.
conversation.
and
Yeah.
released it.
Yeah.
And she told him, she's like, if you keep talking, she's like, I got more tapes I can release.
Yeah. So he came out and said that. He's like, I don't even know what's on the tape. And I know she's fully capable of like creating a fake tape and just like cutting and pasting something together to make me look bad.
Oh
But
my
I'm not
God.
taking my chances. I'm just going to quit. I was like, okay. So
Oh my gosh.
you've got no balls.
Oh
So-
my God.
So that's going on. We already talked about the guy down in Florida.
Yeah.
The menage a trois.
Yeah, they kicked the menage a trois. He apparently the update on that my understanding is that the cops aren't going to charge him with rape. Apparently, the contents of the video did not indicate non-consensual sex, but he's still getting popped for for videoing it to begin with, because
Because
she
he
did
didn't
not
tell her.
Yeah, she didn't tell her. She didn't consent to that.
Yeah.
So he's still
but
yeah, maybe he's not an alleged rapist anymore. But he's still an alleged video voyeur by Florida
he's
law.
also an ex GOP chairman.
And he's also an ex GOP chairman. Exactly.
And his wife is a founder of Moms for Liberty, who are supposedly against all that girl on girl stuff.
Yeah. Did they kick her out, or is she still hanging on by a thread over there?
Brendan, you're my Moms for Liberty go-to guy, so you
Ah man,
Yeah.
I've been busy doing other things.
I know.
I've been
I
busy doing
know.
other things. Oh, I'm gonna pivot real quick because we're gonna get out of here pretty soon.
Oh, did you see? I was reading about Giuliani's bankruptcy. You know, they opened it up, I guess yesterday or whatever.
Oh yeah, and
The
then
dude's got
Trump's
like,
not paying him.
yeah, Trump's not paying him. He's got part of his assets is like he's
Oh,
got
he's
like
screwed.
26 watches, and he has to pay. He's paying $13,500 a month to his mother-in-law. And he said his net monthly income's like $2,300, and he's making most of his living now as a podcaster.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. He's
Which
got this ridiculous
let's
drunk
not make fun of
podcast.
that. Let's not make
Yeah,
fun of
Yeah,
that.
well, I know, but I mean, I'm still thinking, well, hey,
Down to the
maybe you
studs,
can have Rudy
baby.
on,
Down to
Down
the
down to
down to
the
the studs.
studs.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay him though. He's gonna at
Oh
twenty
yeah.
three hundred dollars a month.
He's
You know
so
what I'll do? I'll tell him I'm gonna pay him, and then I won't.
Yeah, exactly. He's used to that. Right?
Yeah, he's used to that.
he's he's so he might. Well, my prediction that he winds up in a cardboard box might come true, and
I'm telling you,
maybe he'll jump in front of the subway.
I've said all along. I said, I told my wife this. I said, this is a situation. He's one of those guys that would probably just end it for himself.
That's what
Yeah.
I think too.
Yeah.
That he's losing it in every possible way that I could just see him saying, you know what,
See, I don't know if
I'm
Jeffrey
checking out.
Epstein. I don't know if Jeffrey Epstein really killed himself, but I will
Yeah.
say this: I couldn't see that guy going from the lifestyle he lived to.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know he wanted to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine, yeah, just try and imagine that, looking at what you're looking at. I mean, that's
Well, Rudy has his dumbass own self to blame for that.
There's got to be some
know?
Gambino guys he can
And-
bunk with.
No,
some guys he put in jail in the 80s. Some
well, that's the thing.
Gambinos,
He's like,
some bananas.
what's he gonna fucking do? I mean, if he goes to jail, he'll probably get shanked.
Yeah, what's that guy? Isn't that
Yeah.
Derek? How's that Derek Chauvin dude doing?
I think he get the shit kicked out of him, and they had to.
Yeah, he
He
got
got
a different part of
stabbed.
jail.
He got
He got
stabbed.
He got
Yeah.
stabbed.
multiple times.
What I heard, he was going to be all right, but I don't know what his status is. They, said he was going to, wasn't life threatening, but he was in
That's
pretty shitty shape for a while.
It kind of
Let's-
messed up one of my arguments because there was all these people saying, "Well, at the end of the day, we can't throw a ex-president in prison, right? Because how are you going to keep him secure and all that kind of stuff?"
Yeah.
And I was getting mad at that, and I'm like, "Look, if you can put Derek Chauvin in jail, you can put Trump in jail."
jail.
Then
Yeah.
they go and stab him. Like, oh, well, I guess I can't keep
But
saying
that happens. I mean,
Well-
that's the thing that happens to famous people that wind up going to fucking famous and infamous people that wind up going to jail. I mean, fucking Whitey Bulger, didn't last too long over there.
No.
You know,
Oh,
yeah.
they killed
Remember how
Whitey, and
everyone-
Whitey.
Remember how
he's a tough
Tyson was
motherfucker.
terrified because everyone in jail wanted to prove themselves
I mean,
by kicking
Yeah,
his
yeah,
ass?
yeah, yeah.
How many people got shanked at Guantanamo, though? I mean, maybe you need a presidential Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Oh, remember
So
I did that
there's-
bit? Remember I
there's
did that bit on the Peru as like
Yeah,
was
in
it
Peru, they got a prison like that just for politicians. Yeah, yeah.
just for
exactly, yeah.
politicians. yeah.
Politician
I've
prison.
seen that. Yeah.
I'm down. I'm down with
Yeah,
that as
I
long
mean,
as they
you know,
get they get the same treatment as regular prisoners. They can't be like, if we're given our regular prisoners over at the local local state prison or the local federal prison, if they're getting prison loaf for dinner and shitty food
Mhm.
constantly and blah blah blah, the politician prison they got to get the same food. They can't be eating like Goodfellas.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, those Latin American jails, they just like build these tunnels underneath them, and then they like put a rail line on it, and then they just like drop out of the shower into the train.
Yeah. The
And, like-
Pablo Escobar prison, right?
And he's not the only one though, man. Like they
I
like,
know he's not.
oh my god.
Got to get out of here pretty soon anyway. But I found the band I play in, which I've mentioned a few times here, the No Good Crowd. I found out just this morning, Saturday the 27th, that we're going to be getting played on the Formula Emergenti program out of Rome, Italy. You can find this online. Part of the I can't even make it out, but it's a Formula Emergenti program. You can vote on who you like, and if the band that gets the most votes in this program on this show gets moved up to their main program. So I might post a link to the show on our Facebook page. You can find us online as Progress Pond on Facebook. Just give us a search. Maybe I'll post a link over there. But that's pretty exciting. We're getting played in Italy, and apparently the station reaches Paris and Berlin too. So it's like woo!
Yeah, international recognition.
Europe,
Wow.
today Europe, tomorrow the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool, man.
I'm pretty psyched about it.
So listen, Mike, I hope you come back. You got a great voice for radio. I got to tell
Yeah.
you.
I appreciate the opportunity, guys. This is really
Yeah.
fun being able to just sit around and bang around the current events and all the quirks and foibles of the GOP and craziness we're dealing with, and a lot of high stakes. But it's always good to be able to sit down and hash over what's going on and
Yep.
how we can move forward here.
We're gonna be wanting to talk about Sherrod Brown at some point.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Sherrod is a big he's a big deal. I know us here locally, we're kind of spooling up to work really hard for him.
I'll bet.
It's a big deal. Our former local chair here was became very good friends with Sherrod. We years ago during SB5, which was kind of the anti collective bargaining bill that GOP tried to pass. We worked really closely with Sherrod here, so he became very fond of our local party for all the hard work that went into that defeating that bill.
I know my wife, Cabin Girl, is a big fan of his wife, Connie.
Yeah, Connie's a great lady. I haven't had the chance to meet her. I'm friends with her on Facebook and have been able to kind of message back and forth with her, and she's a very down to earth, wonderful person. You can't find any better person than Connie, and her and Sherrod are a great couple, and I certainly hope we can do everything we can to keep him in the Senate.
Oh, I sure hope so.
So,
Yeah.
folks, on that note, why don't we say toodaloo for now? On behalf of Brendan, Martin, and Mike, this is the Progress Pondcast. Our introduction music, as always, is provided by the magnificent Royal Hounds out of Nashville, Tennessee. They got an album out going around now called Plateful of Nothing. You should check it out on Apple Music and Spotify. You can also find the No Good Crowd over on Spotify, Apple, Tidal, music platform of your choice. If you like what you hear on the Progress Podcast, and if you're still with us, we figure you do, you can find us on all sorts of new music platforms now. We're on Spotify. We are on Apple. We haven't managed to get ourselves onto Google yet. We're on Castbox with many, many more to come. So have a great one, and I guess we'll see you next time, right?
That's right. Over and
Adios,
out.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Rock and roll.